Hello and welcome to the gallery. My name is Jon, and today it's all about the base. Last time we started on Belakor. Today we are going to continue with him. I know it can be quite disheartening painting up a big model like this. There's a lot of surface area, there's a lot of places you can go wrong. So we're starting with just this base and working our way from there. The base itself is quite a complex thing. It's got all you want in a model. It's got skulls, it's got chains, rocks, lava, a guy, so it's almost a model unto itself. Let's just start with that, and we'll see how that goes. Well, first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna start out with a little airbrushing. I'm still using my old crappy airbrush that really just sputters out paint willy-nilly, and, well, it's all I got at that time. So we're putting down a little bit of black, and then we're gonna go over that with a little bit of white. Now you see I put up all the colors here right at the beginning because I'll be mixing and matching them quite a lot over all the painting process. Sometimes it'll just be mixed on the wet palette, sometimes it'll be wet blended on the character, sometimes it'll be thinned out with water for glazes, sometimes it's dry brushing. We'll just mention it as we go along. Now I'm starting out here with dry brushing, a little bit of white on what the zenithal highlighting I already did, because we're going for a natural rocky kind of look for this. A little bit more on the front side of him, but we're gonna add a little bit extra here around the skulls on the back side just so they pop a little bit more. And now that we've finished up dry brushing him, we're going to use a little bit of contrast paints. We're using the Black Templar contrast paste and thinning it quite a lot with contrast medium because we want to keep that zenithal highlighting dry brushing feel that we already got, but we want that stone a little bit darker. A little bit between the mix of obsidian and regular rocks. There's lava flowing around, why not volcanic glass? And as you can see, it looks a little bit volcanic glassy, but not all too much. Adding a small hint of extra highlights here on the topmost bits. A little bit of white dry brushing, just to catch the nubbins. And now we've changed it up a little bit. As you can see, I'm using a green dry brush. I'm mixing 2-3 types of green with a little bit of yellow. And we're going for where his sword will be above. So we're going for the cheap, simple OSL effect. It's just dry brushing a little bit of green. Then we're going to dry brush a little bit of lighter green on top of that. Just so it looks like it's OSL, but it's not really the OSL as you normally do. It's a quick OSL. And then a little bit of green glaze here and there just to make the stone look like it's got glaze on it, well, OSL on it. Starting on the lava, red paint, just glop it down in the middle, add a little bit of orange to it, add a little bit of yellow to it. I know it's not the best paint job here because you can see the paint is hitting the sides and everything, but you know what? It's fine. You can fix that with a little bit of grey and a little bit of black and a little bit of white afterwards. Also, next step of this is putting in Gryph-hound orange contrast paint, glazing it into the crevices, and that mixes out all the ugly bits that we painted earlier when it went a little bit overboard, and it gives it a kind of a glowy feel to it. It's not the best type to do, but it's okay. It looks fine when it's all ready. And after we've darkened it down with that, we're going to add a little bit of orange and then a little bit of yellow here and there just to make it a little bit brighter. Lava is not flat red, it's a glowy thing. and kind of fitting to paint lava, because outside my window I can see an actual volcano, so why not put some lava here? And as you can see on the back side, it's a lot darker than it is on the front side, because we don't need that much focus there. We want the focus on the front bit, and also it makes all the yellow things that we're putting here with the lava pop even more. Now the rim, well, not the rim, the outside, the actual display base, we're gonna put down a thick layer of red paint and orange paint on top of that, and we're gonna blend it there. And then we're going to put in a little bit later a little bit of yellow paint as well, and we're going to make this a really, really bright thing, and you'll see later while we're doing it like this. Other than that, it's really fun to paint like this. And now more of the yellow paint, making it pop even more. And you don't have to be neat, you can just be messy as you like. We want high contrast here. We want really, really bright colors on really, really dark red. And this is a simple way to do awesome lava effects. And we're pooling it where the streams flow from the display bit. Now I'm throwing in a little bit of R-coat just to seal it in and make the next bit adhere better to the base. And don't be stingy on the R-coat. You want a lot of R-coat. Now we're using the, I don't know if it's new, but it's new to me, technical paint from Citadel Mordant Earth. And we're really hamming it down. We're putting in a lot of it on the base. And it'll crack up and make this awesome effect, as you can see here. And once it's fully cracked up, we're going to seal it in with one layer of Lamia medium. And magic is about to happen any minute now. This is the long cut. There we go. Ah, the magic of cinematography. That took 2 hours. And as you can see, a lot of the work of the base is now done. Now we painted up all the rock and all the big parts of the base. Now we're just gonna throw in a few splashes of color here and there on the smaller details, and we can call this base done. Now we're entering the details. We start by doing a little bit of cheap NMM. So I take black and a little bit of white, add a little bit of green into it for a little bit of more metallic feeling, and I just paint it over the chain. Then I put a little bit more white into the black and green paint, and put dabs here and there, and basically where the light might hit it, and then almost pure white, and we put that on select spots to make it look a little bit more like metal. And then afterwards, if you feel like it, you can wash a little bit of really thinned out Nuln Oil all over this, just to get the deeper recesses a little bit darker again, and then throw a little bit more white on top. The armor of the Chaos Warrior is a black armor, but pure black is boring, so I added a teeny amount of white into the black armor, and then just gradually added a little bit more and more white to get those highlights, because we're going for a little bit of a dramatic light to him, because there will be green glow effects adding on it a little bit later on. And now a little bit more white, a little bit higher, and now we're adding the green glow effects. This is basically a verdigris paint with a little bit of green to it and a lot of white to it and a lot of water. Now gold NMM, cheap gold NMM. I use a dark green and I add brown to that and a little bit of black, and then just add almost a little bit more yellow and every time, at every pass, so in the end it'll look somewhat metallic. like I said, this is cheap and quick NMM. This is not wet blending or spending days on and getting the perfect shine. This is just getting it done. And for the cloth bits, the scabbard, the handles, the horns, it's just Vallejo bone white, painted all over it, and then we fix it up with a little bit of wet blending of a dark brown mixed with black and green, dirty feel to the cloth, so it looks like an old cloth. And on the horns we use a brown wash. It's basically just brown with water in it, a lot of water in it. And then go over the tips where it makes darker splotches with bone white again to neaten it up a bit. Then again we take the green glaze we made and we paint over the areas where the green light of the sword and the eldritch fire coming from the body might hit it, just to get a little bit of a cohesion to the feel of it. Boots, they're leather, brown mixed with black, then just brown, white blended into it. It's simple, it doesn't have to be complex, it's a base, for crying out loud. And then dark green, again just black and green, then a little bit more green in the black, and then I threw in a little bit of white to the green black to make it a little bit more of a natural feel to it. Simple paint job. Here we're going for green eldritch fire. Start by putting in a thick glob of green, and then on the ends we're putting in thick globs of purple, and this will be the basis of the eldritch fire. Then we're starting and putting in a little bit more yellow to the green and getting a little bit brighter at the base of the fire. Dragon of Nightshade is the next step. Put it over all the fires to make them a little bit more shadowy, more sinister, more belakor-y. And then a lot of verdigris and white and a little bit of green to it, and we're starting the highlights of the eldritch fire. And on the end of the eldritch fire, where the flame is more purpley, instead of the green to the highlights we put purple, and so it'll mix very nice and it looks stark and interesting compared to all the other stuff there. And this is a GW model, so it's got skull for days. It's feng shui of the skulls. It's basically just bone white, throw in skeletal horde and highlight it up again with bone white. Simple as that, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Well, the base is all painted up. I'll see you next time, and then we'll start working on Belakor himself. And there you see it. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but it looks good enough, and when Belakor is on top of it, I think it'll look pretty damn good. Thank you very much for joining me here today. There are links in the description for all kinds of stuff, social media, Patreon, all kinds of stuff. You do with it what you will. Like, share and subscribe, and hang a poster at your local grocer's. But until next time, farewell.